maybe, just maybe, we can get at one of the basic mechanisms of aging so that you can get younger.
There is something in humans that drives us to want to live longer and to be younger.
Aging is a disease, it's not a condition. I think it's an engineering issue as much as it is anything.
Right now, there's a whole bunch of things that are happening that will have really profound effects on life expectancy. Real age reversal.
From Egyptian afterlife rituals and Alexander the Great's quest for a river of immortality in India to the legend of the Holy Grail and Ponce de Leon's hunt for the Fountain of Youth, for thousands of years, humans have been obsessed with stopping the ravages of time. But what if something real has finally arrived?
For me, it was one of the best things I've ever done for my health.
I don't feel like my body is aging.
There was a good 10 years there of dealing with that intermittent dementia. And he still slows down today, but I haven't had a single day of my dad as Mr. Vegetable that I knew him for the decade before in 3 years. Not a single day.
Will you take Charlie for a walk?
Oh yeah. I'm very adamant that, everyone over 65, 70 should be doing this.
Reversing biological age is no longer science fiction. It's reality. This film is about a medical treatment that's changing lives. It's not a miracle drug or flashy technology. It's a little-known FDA-approved procedure called Therapeutic Plasma Exchange, or TPE. Backed by research out of Stanford, Berkeley, the Cleveland Clinic, and the Buck Institute for Research on Aging, the benefits of TPE, as you're about to find out, are nothing short of revolutionary.
You have to understand that there are animals that don't age. Greenland shark, I think the oldest Greenland shark they've ever found swimming around in the north is 500 years or so old. There are the Mexican salamander axolotls. They remain in a larval state, essentially, as adult embryos. And unless you force them to go through this transition, they don't age on a daily basis. They die, usually from being eaten, but they never die of old age. So clearly, organisms do not require wearing out and death.
Why do we die? It's a question that has always fascinated Patrick Cox.
A society that aims for equality before liberty will end up with neither equality nor liberty.
An economist by training with a background in tech, including an early stint working with Netscape founder Marc Andreessen to help develop SSL encryption, Cox has led a very colorful life. He's consulted for Fortune 500 companies, been an editorial writer for USA Today.
I intend to run for president.
And even helped run Senator Fred Thompson's 2008 U.S. presidential campaign. Over the last 15 years, he's authored dozens of research papers on longevity biotechnology, and today is Chief Research Officer at Lifespan Edge, a series of US-based longevity clinics utilizing TPE.
Right now, there's a whole bunch of things, that are happening that will have really profound effects on life expectancy. Really, real age reversal. Therapeutic plasma exchange, I think it's probably the most effective commercially available anti-aging therapeutic available today. It's already approved. We use it off-label, but the FDA has approved it for numerous disease conditions. You don't have to go do clinical trials to get permission to do it. You just need a prescription.
In the middle aughts, I started reading this newsletter by a guy called Pat Cox, who was working at the time for Agora Publishing.
John Malden is the co-founder of Malden Economics, one of North America's largest financial publishing companies.
We started communicating and we were in conferences, and we really hit it off. He was so good at explaining the science behind whatever company that he had. We kind of mind melded. We really bonded over this theme of longevity.
John and I just have a lot of overlapping interests. And so, I mean, he was a much bigger celebrity than I've ever been when I first met him. He was a superstar in financial economics, but he really liked what I was doing, which was writing about these cutting-edge biotechnologies.
The bet was whether he could do that in 40 minutes or not, and he didn't.
Friends and colleagues for over 2 decades, in 2023, Patrick began to notice changes in the then 74-year-old John.
He was just slowing down. You know, his conversations were lapsing. He said that writing his newsletter took a lot more effort and longer. He really seemed to struggle for correct words occasionally. Everybody does that, but when it happens on a regular basis, you begin to wonder if there's not some sort of basic systemic memory problem at work.
I told my wife, I said, it's slipping. I'm 74. Dad started slowing down in his 70s, and I just didn't want to slow down. I'm having too damn much fun. In the back of my mind, I'm watching myself slow down. I knew the path I was on. I'd seen it, and I didn't want that. Pat really was the one that was introducing the concept of therapeutic plasma exchange to me. And you read the research, you read the data, and you go, this is really interesting. I spend 8 days in Mill Valley, California, in Marin County, and I do a procedure every other day for 8 days. And I come back a week later. I've got a physical therapist that says, your skin's different, your muscles are different. Workouts were getting better. I'm starting to sleep better.
Once he had done TPE, which I encouraged him to do, within a very short amount of time, he was completely restored. He was not only restored to what he was, a year or two previously. He seemed to have more energy, more, better attention, focus. His workouts improved. He's exercising more regularly. All of those things. So, no, it was. I thought it was pretty remarkable.
I was born in a family of physicians. My mother is a physician, my father is a physician, my grandfather was the first dean of the medical school in Bulgaria where I was going to school.
This is Dobri Kiprov.
I was destined to be a doctor.
As comfortable on the racetrack and in a speedboat as he is at his Marin County clinic in Mill Valley, California, the same one John Malden visited, Dr. Kiprov is considered the leading expert in therapeutic plasma exchange.
I've been always interested in healthy living.
An alumni of Harvard Medical School, he was the first in the world to publish the effects of TPE on aging, long COVID, and Alzheimer's disease.
We spend our lives doing experiments and trying to help people, and at the end of the day, if you can help, maybe not everybody, but some people, it's very, very gratifying.
In 2007, Dr. Kiprov connected with scientists here at Stanford University. They were the first to tell him about experiments, the results of which would change his life.
They published an article about their experiment with an animal model called parabiosis. And parabiosis is basically connecting the circulation, the blood circulation of two animals.
In this case, the two animals were a young mouse and an old mouse. The scientists observed that once their blood circulation systems were connected together, the young mouse became older and the old mouse became younger.
This was really a phenomenal observation, and everybody got excited about it. And one of the logical conclusions was that there is something in young blood that contributes to the old mouse to become younger.
This conclusion led to an explosion of interest in young blood transfusions.
The rumors were that if you had an awful lot of money, you could go to a clinic in Switzerland and have your blood replaced with young blood.
Like Dr. Kiprov, science writer and biotech analyst Patrick Cox was initially excited about the possibility that young blood could unlock the secret to staying young.
Then it came out into the open. It was no longer a rumor, and you could buy that therapy.
So there's a company in the United States, they have 5 locations. They use blood from young people, inject it into older people with the promise that it will rejuvenate you and give you a more youthful feel and appearance.
The FDA released statements saying you shouldn't do this. You know, we don't know if it's safe and et cetera. And then eventually there's actually regulation put in place banning it.
There were people that jumped to every blood bank to look for young blood, and they still do. I must warn you that this is a very dangerous experiment, and I personally know 2 people who died from these experiments.
The problem? Exposure to foreign blood was causing transfusion reactions.
They can become rapidly very dangerous, impairing the respiratory system and leading to respiratory shock and death. From the very beginning, I was very much against the transfusion of young blood to human beings in general. Yes, if we do that, we do it for deadly diseases that require blood transfusions of some sort, but we pre-medicate the patients and we are ready to assist if there is any complication.
So Dr. Kiprov began work on creating a human model of parabiosis without the downsides of young blood.
So I came up with the idea of plasmapheresis.
Plasmapheresis, removing plasma from the blood, was a complete game changer. Dr. Kiprov knew that as humans age, the content of proteins and other molecules in our plasma changes.
It changes not for good, it changes for bad. There is accumulation of molecules that are associated with aging, and the majority of those molecules are associated with inflammaging. There is a word called inflammaging, so inflammation and aging put together, which is true because the bottom line is chronic inflammation. So decreasing chronic inflammation is the key for delaying and preventing the consequences of aging. Removing the old plasma, which contains these substances, seem to be beneficial.
Dr. Kiprov then suggested that by replacing the plasma with a mixture of saline and albumin, a natural protein created by our bodies, we would see reversals on the impacts of aging.
I wrote a hypothesis which was published in 2012, I believe, to use therapeutic plasma exchange as a model of parabiosis in humans. So that's how it started.
In practice, the 2-hour treatment, Dr. Kiprov helped pioneer removes a third of your body's blood, placing it in a centrifuge where the plasma is separated from the blood cells. Then the blood cells, minus the plasma, are returned back into your body along with saline and albumin. Not long after Dr. Kiprov proposed his model of therapeutic plasma exchange, a study was launched by Grifols, one of the world's largest producers of plasma-derived medicines.
The first randomized clinical trial in patients with age-related diseases was done in Alzheimer's disease. And the study was called AMBAR, the AMBAR study. It involved 400 patients who were randomized to receive plasma exchange or placebo. The study was published several years ago. We have 2 or 3 publications and was very successful.
The first of the AMBAR studies came out in abstract form.
At the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, one of the largest and most respected hospitals in the world, the shockwaves of what Grifols' AMBAR study found began to be felt.
I read the article and I said, this is a huge breakthrough because it didn't just slow Alzheimer's disease, It reversed it.
Dr. Mike Roizen is the Cleveland Clinic's Chief Wellness Officer Emeritus.
One of the eating strategies Dr. Roizen recommends is that we automate breakfast and lunch. What does that mean?
Have the same thing every day.
For years, a regular guest on shows like Oprah
A surprise knock at the door is about to change everything for Michelle.
and Dr. Oz.
We're here to help.
Dr. Roizen is the author of 5 New York Times bestseller books that deal with wellness and aging.
Dr. Michael Roizen's book is called You on a Diet, and it is in bookstores right now.
So when the AMBAR study proved TPE was effective in battling Alzheimer's, Dr. Roizen quickly became a proponent of the treatment.
We had nothing and don't have anything that reverses it still other than therapeutic plasma exchange. What we know is that getting rid of your old blood, your old plasma, causes you to get younger, causes you to get, if you will, reverse minimal cognitive dysfunction and to reverse some of the dysfunction of Alzheimer's disease.
It sounds like science fiction, but for Robert Kahn, it was personal. He had heard about TPE and decided, as a last-ditch effort, to try it on the person who mattered most, his father.
I was down in Florida, got a call, you need to come home right now. I flew up at St. Vincent's here in Toledo. My dad, I walked into the room and I instantly thought my dad's gonna die. I really did. And I remember, when you see someone's about to die, they don't look thin, their mouth is just wide open. I mean, I thought this is how it goes.
For over a decade, Robert and his family had watched helplessly as Habib Khan slipped away, diagnosed with dementia.
My father came to America on the Queen Mary, raised in an Afghan North Indian family, came here in '51, docked in New York. He grew up in the auto business. He was a mechanic and he was doing all sorts of stuff physically his whole life. Maybe it was 10 years ago, we made him leave the business and just retire. He was forgetting things and he wasn't able to manage a small business anymore.
He had to quit driving. It was dangerous for him to drive.
I don't think I ever got lost.
You did get lost. You were getting lost. Once you went to, had a dentist appointment that is about 7 blocks away, and you drove to Bowling Green. Bowling Green's about 20 minutes. That was about the last time you drove the car, when you didn't make it to the dentist.
Dentist?
Yeah. You don't remember.
I don't remember.
3 days out of the week, 4 days out of the week, he'd just sit in the chair, just completely stumped over. If you nudged him and woke him up and you'd look in his eyes, he'd be cloudy in the eyes, no spark, and you'd feed the guy or do whatever you do. It was clearly just a man aging away. It was either do something now or lose Dad.
Robert hoped TPE would bring his 87-year-old father some relief. But what happened next stunned him.
I was very confident it was going to do something. I was not aware that it would do to the effect of what it has.
Here's the feedback.
We took him to a central Midwestern clinic that does TPE. We did 2 rounds over 3 days. Immediately upon coming home, everyone was like, whoa, you're back. I mean, he was, hand-eye coordination, doing things, making his own tea again. He just was with us all of a sudden. I'll never forget, I'm here, and I watched him make his cup of tea on his own, and I said something like, I asked him a question, and he turned around on a dime. And I was like, how did he just turn around so fast? Like, boom, real quick. I was like, whoa, guy, slow down. His interest in everything came back real quickly in a lot of stuff. He'll talk to you, he'll ask you questions, how are you doing?
Will you take Charlie for a walk?
Oh yeah.
So it was really instantaneous, the mental spark.
Charlie?
I mean, his personality is there again.
Let's go outside.
He's returned to basically clothing himself. He had pretty much fallen off a cliff there in the last few years where you had to help him get dressed. He will dress himself completely right now. You don't need to help him. And that's why I'm an evangelical on this point. I mean, I didn't know it would be this strong and this, it's interesting. It is something, it is like an oil change. You have to do this on a cadence, whether it's 4 times a year, 6 times a year. There was a good 10 years there of dealing with that intermittent dementia. And he still slows down today, but I haven't had a single day of my dad as Mr. Vegetable that I knew him for the decade before in 3 years. Not a single day.
You get a different smell here, you get a different temperature. The sounds are just amazing. The wildlife, you've got shore life and you've got sea life. It's just nice to get away and come to the beach.
For 35 years, Richard Graham owned car dealerships in Santa Barbara, California. As retirement came calling, he knew his lifestyle had to change.
By the time I was 60, I had had 40 years of pretty sedentary lifestyle. And I was pretty well overweight and under-muscled. And so I knew at 60 that I really desired to get in shape one more time. I didn't know if I had time at 60, if I could ever get in shape again. But I thought, well, I'd try it.
In the nearly 20 years since retiring, Richard's hardcore exercise regime has resulted in losing nearly 60 pounds. But despite his incredible physical transformation, by his mid-70s, Richard realized something was wrong.
My wife kept saying, you're forgetting things, and you don't ever want to admit that, but she was right. And I never could, I can't describe brain fog, but I had something. I do get the diagnosis that I have mild cognitive impairment, which could probably lead to Alzheimer's type disease.
A longtime admirer of Dr. Michael Roizen's work, Richard reads The Great Age Reboot.
I said, I got to get that book. And he had 14 protocols that he writes about in that book saying, this is the future of health. So therapeutic plasma exchange was one of them. So I wrote him an email. He doesn't know me, I don't know him, but he wrote me back. And he said, there's a guy in California not far from you.
That guy in California was Dr. Kiprov.
There are people with certain biomarkers we know that they're very much predisposed to Alzheimer's disease and will probably develop it within a certain period of time. And our goal now is to protect them of developing the disease. Richard has the markers of Alzheimer's disease. So one thing about him is that we try to prevent the disease of happening.
I do so many things to try to keep my mild cognitive impairment under control, to even try to reverse it. But in the 2 years that I've been with therapeutic plasma exchange, something's changing. I tell you, I don't think I've ever felt better in my whole life.
Over at the Cleveland Clinic, Dr. Roizen has seen results similar to what Richard and Mr. Khan have experienced.
Now, the amazing thing on a patient that we had with vascular dementia who literally couldn't utter 4 words in a sentence, and 2 weeks after he got 4 treatments, I couldn't shut him up on the phone. So that's not a negative, it's just as he was able to talk for a long while coherently. I believe that for those over 50, TPE is part of a regimen of keeping our body and our brain young.
So clearly, the benefits of therapeutic plasma exchange are undeniable. But finding clinics that offer the 2-hour procedure isn't easy.
When I tried to find this for patients at the Cleveland Clinic who needed it, who had early mental dysfunction or wanted it for aging, we couldn't find any place other than, if you will, with Dr. Kiprov to do it.
By law, clinics need to have licensed nurses administering the treatment, along with a doctor who oversees the entire process.
I went to dinner for a couple nights with Dobri, so it says, why don't we start looking at what it would take to put a business together?
And that's when Lifespan Edge was founded, a partnership between John Malden, Dr. Kiprov, Dr. Roizen, and Patrick Cox.
What we're trying to achieve with Lifespan Edge is make available a therapy that isn't otherwise available. So we wanted to make this available in multiple sites across the country so that it could be done easily, reproducibly.
In addition to Dr. Kiprov's clinic in San Francisco, the plan is to open TPE facilities in Dallas, Puerto Rico, Palm Beach, Florida, and Washington, D.C., with more coming soon after. There's no question therapeutic plasma exchange can have a dramatic impact on aging and dementia. But, as you're about to see, it can also bring relief and healing to people simply caught up in the daily grind of life.
I'm in my 50s. I'm married and with a loving family and lived a very active lifestyle close to nature.
Song Schreiber is a busy executive working in biotech near San Francisco.
Around a little over 10 years ago, my body started to fall apart. I was getting aches and pains, intermittent aches and pains, stiffness that was preventing me from enjoying life to its fullest. And as the years go by, it became a chronic condition where I wake up in the morning with swollen joints. And also I noticed that I was getting headaches that were becoming more severe to the point I had to get prescription medication specifically for migraines so I can complete a day of work.
At the time the symptoms began, Song was working in a high-stress environment, managing the office of one of California's most prominent law firms. Initially, her doctors suggested solutions that didn't give her any cause for concern.
They said we can prescribe you painkillers, anti-inflammatory, like heavy doses of ibuprofen, and we think that the antidepressants will help you.
But then she was confronted with two additional health challenges.
I was getting hives too, all over my body. I had to wear long sleeves to cover up deep bruising from the hives, so it became problematic.
Then, to top it off, Song's thyroid began stimulating excess hormones, causing her very serious problems that simply couldn't be ignored any longer.
I felt I was literally breaking apart from inside out. Like my body's falling apart, and I was just in my mid-40s. After studying the potential side effects of the drugs I was prescribed by my general practitioner, I wanted to try something new before committing myself to a lifelong path of medication. So that was the last push.
Song heard about TPE through her husband, a scientist. It wasn't long before she was speaking with Dr. Kiprov.
People have symptoms like Song, and they go everywhere. They go to Johns Hopkins, they go to the Mayo Clinic, they go to Stanford, and everybody says, I don't know, we can't do anything about it. And then all of those end up with me. Many of these people, like Song, have an inflammatory disease of undetermined etiology. And many of them will respond to plasmapheresis because it's very powerful anti-inflammatory treatment.
Dr. Kiprov supervised and monitored while I was getting my treatment, and his technicians performed my TPE. I noticed the positive effect of TPE during my ride home. I noticed there's a calm that came over me, a quietness in my mind, because for many years I was living with headaches and migraine. There was this constant buzzing sound in my head. And I noticed on the ride home that was gone.
Song went through 5 TPE treatments over a period of 3 months.
My mysterious hives around my knees and elbow, on my back, on my chest, went away. I have not had another systemic hive since my TPE treatment. I don't even have to be on thyroid hormones. My thyroid is completely normal now. After that, I waited another year before I went back for another set of 5 treatments. And so that's over 2 years, and I haven't gone back since because I'm at a good place right now. This was a complete surprise, a wonderful, welcoming surprise. It changed my life.
For so many people, therapeutic plasma exchange is changing expectations around what aging can be.
I'm doing therapeutic plasma exchange because I just continue to feel so good. I don't feel like my body is aging. Just think how it would be if you could feel 10 or 15 or 20 years younger. I feel like I'm still 50. It's hard to believe for myself that I'm 82.
To feel like this versus what I did 2 years ago, TPE is one of the main steps that I'm continuing.
Maybe out of vanity, I didn't consider myself aging. So now I'm totally humbled. To me, there's no good reason not to take advantage of it. My husband said that TPE give him his beautiful wife, vibrant, vivacious, happy, sunny wife back.
I feel healthier. My body doesn't hurt as much. For me, looking back, I don't have to be my father and let it slip because it was slipping. And that's just such a gift.
I think it is the most effective, commercially available anti-aging therapeutic on the market today.
I believe that for those over 50, TPE is part of a regimen of keeping our body and our brain young.
Therapeutic plasma exchange. Longevity is here.